as Nigerian workers join their counterparts around the world to mark the International Labour Day, they have to contend with economic hardship occasioned by wages that can barely meet their needs. Arise Labour correspondent Charles Eruka spoke with some Nigerian workers about the challenges they face in their daily quest for survival. They say it's almost impossible to survive on their income.
The economic hardship in Nigeria is worrisome. Our salary cannot sustain us. We are just managing ourselves. You know, Nigeria, we are too endure. We don't know how long this endurance will take place. And I pray, I'm calling upon Mr. President to see into our wages. The economic cannot withstand our salary.
Actually, the salary is not enough. Nowadays, money is hard to reach. Actually, we have to cut down many things. Like if I'm buying crate of egg before, now I have to buy half crate, and we have to manage it like that. And actually, the money is not even enough because if you enter market now, you just buy small stuff. You just see 15 naira has gone.
My experience is not a pleasant one to say the least. But thank God at least I'm opportunity to be working and earning something. So all I need to do is a little bit of adjustment here and there in order to survive the economy.
People are struggling to eat first before thinking about their health, forgetting that health is wealth, and you are rich when you are healthy, not really food. You understand? And when you are not eating right, you are vulnerable to a lot of diseases and infections around.
On the daily basis, it's not easy. An average Nigerians will not lie to you. Unlike me here, at least we know how much we spend. Those that have family and everybody will know what goes out of our pocket every day. So it's not easy for that. I wouldn't want to be specific to tell you, okay, this is how much I spend per day. You understand? But it's something that is, well, it's something unexpected. We can't even say that this is how it is.
Insecurity affects everybody.
Okay, so how does it affect you?
Okay, like your way going to the office, you can be attacked. Like me, I was attacked 2 weeks ago by the mine underworld. So they stole my phone, but they didn't harm me. So insecurity is everywhere now. In Abuja, FCT, anywhere, everywhere.
Lamentations of the Nigerian workers there. Well, now we are being joined by the president of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Joe Agerro. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm tempted to say Happy Workers' Day, but I can only imagine what your response would be to that, Mr. Agerro. But my question to you is, just about a year ago, Labour and the government settled for 70,000 naira as a figure for minimum wage in Nigeria. Given the power of hindsight, do you regret settling for that amount? Do you feel that you settled for less for the Nigerian workers at 70,000 naira? If today you're saying it's not enough, it's barely 1 year.
Yeah, given that period, I would say there was no regret. Between that time and now, a lot has happened. Even the pump price of petroleum products, one of the reasons why we accepted 70, we had a disagreement with the president. And he said, I will bring money, Agerro. People will travel to all West African countries and find out the cost of PMS. He said he was giving statistics. This country is selling 2,000 naira equivalent, this country 1,900 and whatever. If you allow me to increase, I'm ready to pay you people 250,000. And we said, we'll think over it. He said, no, I'm going to give you 1 hour or 2 hours. We said, no, we can't take decision in your office. We took an adjournment for 1 week. And when we consulted, we came back to him that would not be possible because we know the implication. And it was even going to worsen our condition. It was on that basis because the negotiation ended at 62,000. All the state governors say they can't pay a dime above 62,000. All the private sector say they can't pay a dime. It was then we settled for 70,000 naira. We believe and understanding that the pump price will no longer be increased. So when we went back less than 2 months, they increased the pump price of petroleum product, which immediately affected the 70,000. And then the flotation of the currency was another factor. So all their decisions of late has eroded the amount. However, even the problem now is not even paying us 1 million. If you pay us 1 million with the rate of inflation, with the rate the economy is going, it will not be enough. So I think what we need to do now is to check the currency, stabilize the currency. Now, we equally agree for CNG buses. Now, you gave us some CNG buses to operate, and we are still using it to PMS. If we had accepted the CNG technology very well, transportation would have crashed as of today. Even the cash transfer, we agree with them. And then with the agreement that the refineries will work in the first instance. So all these agreements, we went into them believing that if you aggregate them together, the 70,000 will be enough. But as we talk today, almost a year after, none has happened.
Yeah, and I'm trying to look through your communique today. Quite, you make some demands, about 10 of them. Of course, you talk about immediate salary adjustments in sync with the economic realities of today. You've just addressed that, but I'm interested in this talk or demand for 65 years or 40 years, for service currently being enjoyed by other civil servants like teachers and what have you. What's the thinking behind that? This, call for an extension of your tenure. And before you even answer that, before I forget, you say 70,000 is not enough. Have you sat down to figure out what is realistic, considering the circumstances?
Well, I can start with that. We went to that negotiation, and I knew I came here with specifics. We itemized our demands. We even came up with the cost of even gas, cost of a bag of gari, cost of bag, because we proposed a cost of living system wage. But the government did not come with anything. It's like the people negotiating on their side just came there to brandy, and they were adding 1,000, 2,000. If you want the number of adjournments and walkouts, it was unimaginable. Now, we equally went into another policy that payment and increment will be based on inflation, so it will be self-adjusted. If inflation goes at this percentage, the wage will adjust. They didn't come with anything. I don't know whether it's lack of expertise. Now, that is the template we came with, that all things being equal. Now, we now ask them, this money you are coming with, which one is transport allowance? Which one is feeding allowance? Which one is housing? Which one is medical? Government of Nigeria didn't come with any. So they banded that figure, the situation is bad, take this. However, the only thing we achieved in that regard was to shorten the period of review. Prior to now, it was 5 years.
Right.
Now, but we were able to shorten it because of the way inflation was going.
To 3 years now.
Yes, to 3 years. Which means by next year, we should be talking of next, because if you allow it beyond that period, nobody is checking the inflationary rate. Everything seems to be going down. So those are the issues. All the template we came with, the indices on housing, transportation, whatever, we still have them today. Nothing has changed on those templates. On the issue of retirement age, it has, when a worker gets to maybe 30 years of service or whatever, he has become a kind of authority in that area. And that was what they considered in areas that is knowledge based, either for lecturers, either for teachers and others. And then we have equally looked at even the rate of unemployment, in the country, and even this wage we are talking of. Even when people are leaving, they were not even prepared to leave. There is no transition area. Even the issue of pension, which led to the issue of 35 years of age, service, and 60 years of age. That pension is not guaranteed now. What we now have is a kind of contributory pension, which is Agerro. Now, as we are talking now, you have reviewed wage. Ordinary pension should be reviewed for those on the defined pension scheme should be reviewed. But under contributory pension is what you contributed that they will give you. Right. So it doesn't take into consideration the inflation, you know, that is happening now. So if you it was calculated and yours is 10,000, you collect every month under the contributory pension, that's what they will pay you. So you can see that even some people left the transition without serving for about 10 years. So they have contributed little or nothing because of that exercise.
Before we let you go very quickly, I mean, did you hear what you needed to hear from the president's message today to workers? I mean, when he says, yeah, we do understand the times are hard, you know, but there's hope.
I think that's a political statement. You know, ordinarily, one should have expected a definitive statement in a situation like this. Presidents all over the world attend May Day, the first instance, and to make commitment. I was expecting the Minister of Labour, Bureau of Statistics, and all these people, you know, to have worked out the president's statement, to say A, B, C, D, you know, we are going to take care of this measure. There used to be a time in this country that even in offices, they share rice, they share some commodities to lessen the suffering of people. But as we are living today, yes, we acknowledge that the situation is bad. Now, what is the consequently? What is the next action? So that was why I said, you know, the situation is bad. Not even that a committee is going to be set up to find out what is going to happen. Not even we are going to provide buses that will take you from your office to your houses. No relief measure. And in such a situation, you know, is for us to now start agitating again.
But the president did say that, I mean, he knows of all of these concerns and that he will address them. I wanted to ask you about the theme for this year. It's about reclaiming civic space. In your own opinion, the space of labor activism in Nigeria, how would you describe it? Some say it's shrinking. Do you agree? And regards the review of minimum wage, as you have truly said, it's now brought down to 3 years from 5 years. Are you saying that the Nigerian workers will have to bear this 70,000 naira minimum wage, which you say is not enough, till next year when it is due for review?
Well, the essence of cost of living, people coming with even cost of living allowances. If you watch before this minimum wage, we got a wage award, you know, to cushion the effects. Every economy, every government looks into it when situation like this arises, which is not as a result of the inefficiency or of the worker, but because of economic policies that was foisted on them. Now, the government can still go back to the drawing board and will say until the next minimum wage is reviewed, A, B, C, D will be done. That is possible. Very possible.
And on the activism space?
Yeah, on the civic space, clearly, is shrinking. You know, and this because...
Is it the civic space or the activism?
Is labor activism civic space?
Right.
Yes.
The civic space is shrinking, you know. And you see some governments that want to, you know, take some drastic policies, try to compress it. Because each time there is harsh economic policy by any state, there's usually a reaction.
Is that why you're unable to negotiate and demand the implementation of 70,000 minimum wage? Because we hear reports about 20 states have not implemented.
Which state?
For instance, your home state, Imo State, there are reports today, workers from May Day say they're not getting 70,000.
70,000 has been implemented in those states, but they allow them to trick them. In most of the states you are citing. Now, I have signed 70,000 minimum wage. It's not my duty to go from every home to the other to implement it. Because you are talking of, you are not able to negotiate 70,000 minimum wage. I think that's a wrong notion. At the national level of the NLC, I don't negotiate with any state government. After that negotiation, they go there, and there's what we call consequential adjustment. Right. Now you adjust it. If you now, those states you are referring to have started implementing 70,000 minimum wage, but now to cascade it, you know, because 70,000 minimum wage was for somebody on level 1, step 1. By the time you get to level 1, step 15, the person should be having about 30,000. The same thing level 2, 3, 4. Now what they did in those states, they will tell you that the least paid in their state is on level 4. They start paying that person 70,000. When in actual fact, the person would have earned almost 60,000 or 70,000. That's the implementation.
Very quickly.
So that's what you are having.
Okay.
Right. You talked about the issue, the situation in Rivers State, that the government should reverse the unconstitutional suspension of the governor. Emphasize on that a little before we let you go.
It's self-explanatory. The people elected a governor, and then the governor was suspended. In fact, even the assembly were suspended, and the sole administrator was imposed. The sole administrator, we had last of it during the military era. If the country is allowed to now elect a president and allow a president to now appoint governors in all the states, it makes sense. But a president has the authority that he was elected, and the governor has authority that he was elected. Members of the House of Assembly have the authority. The process for their removal is enshrined in the Constitution. So if you go beyond that, you know, you have violated the Constitution.
But it looks like all the Labour has done is just to make that, you know, and not act the way that you usually would.
Now, if you
going on strike or protesting.
If you're expecting us to now go and remove him, that's not our job. But we have said this one is wrong, and that's why we say we can't take salute from this one. And we'll continue to introduce all those measures to make sure that this one is not acceptable to us.
All right, Mr. Joe Agerro, NLC President, that's the Nigeria Labour Congress. Thank you very much for joining us, and happy Labour Day again.
Thank you.
Hopefully by this time next year, you'll have most of your demands met, if not all.